Go ahead.
Active, visible members from the parties will be recommended by the party. They saying they will get job. So the parties know who the.
So can I come in?
Did the document define who is active, visible, and known?
Thank you.
The party knows that. It's not the party.
So you're talking about a document that forming the framework. Does the document define that?
Yes, the document define that. It starts from membership all the way, who is a member and all that. Guys, we shouldn't pretend we don't know who is a member.
No. I'm talking about active, visible, and known.
Yes.
Can I have an input
It's in the document. People need to read the document. It talk about membership. Who can be a member? What qualifies you a member? What denies you of membership? On those basis, you are a new and active member.
So
can I make a contribution here?
Go ahead, Mr. Kune.
Mr. Kune, one second.
Listen. The fact that we've devoted almost 45 minutes of this show time on the section that deal with job is the failure of the document, whether you admit it or not.
No, that's not true, Mr. Kune.
But Sonny, if you can't give me a chance for me to make my point, then maybe I need not contribute. Because you caught me in between. And then it is my assessment. The fact that political parties come together, serious political parties in our country, that should be the governing alternative to the government in power. And we've allocated about 45 minutes interpreting a provision on the document that bring them together. We can't even get an agreement. It's itself a failure of the document. So what I'm saying is that, look, I have one economic professor who taught me, he said, look, if somebody's objective, if its objective is to maximize luxury, and the person is the person traveling and being in first class, you cannot criticize the person. But if the person want to be economical and traveling first class, he's not acting rationally. If the preoccupation of the CCP is to win an election, then their document is perfect for job sharing. It's perfect. I don't deny that. But what I'm saying, there are other Liberians, there are thousands of Liberians that will not vote a party in simply because you've created a framework to share jobs. There are Liberians that want to see what your mission is, what your vision is, what kind of Liberia you want to establish when you shall have one political power. And so I'm saying, first of all, you have to bring this social contract. You got to define this social contract. Look, we are collaborating on the basis of this shared principle. And it is this principle we are going to sell to the Liberian people to win. When we win, then this is how we allocate positions as to how we achieve our principle. This is what we're talking about. It's like a company that is dividing profit without even telling us how they're going to make the profit. That's the argument I'm making.
Mr. Kune, you always cry for time so that you can have more time than the rest. I tell you, Mr. Jai, you said something earlier about what's the goal? Why these people came together. From my reading of the document, they said clearly that they will free a single ticket, both presidential and legislative opposition. Right. All right. This is all about they coming together as a unit to contest in the ensuing elections. That is the primary goal. And
so we can critically analyze that.
No, Mr. Kune, let me
learn. Can I analyze that? We should get accepted and move forward. Because they say it, so we should get accepted. We should not critique it. We should not point out its drawback.
That doesn't also mean that whatever critique you gave is correct. And that's
can I come in, please? Can I come in, please?
All right, let's conclude. Let's conclude on the CPP. I think it is fair to say that there are certain things that are called maybe distractions, right? And I don't know how you can deny that if the issue of job has become the main focus of the document, or if that's what people are getting from it, then it is taken away from the goal of the document. Maybe they could have done a better job to kind of minimize this thing about jobs. Go ahead, Mr. Doe.
Yes, Mr. Conan mentioned about the document as a failure. Right now, we are analyzing the document and reconstructing it in a sense too. And to me, that's not a failure of a document in its totality. You know, the document has some, flaws in it, whatsoever. And that is why they made this document public too, for the public to take a look at it, for the public to have a voice on it, for the public to express their opinions on it. And maybe they will learn from those opinions and voice and reconstruct the document. So the discussion we're having right now is plain reconstruction of the documents. If we have some CPP members, watching this show, maybe they can take some pointers from here and go back to the drawing board and alter some of the points we're making in that document, or inside some of the points we're making in that document.
Let me read a few comments and then we can move on, Mr. Sia, if you permit me. Emmerich Benson Nicole Jr. said, it is a legal framework that you have no idea about, Robert Gagua. But the Constitution is also open for interpretation. This is why you have to consult a legal mind and start playing the legal practitioner role. That's Emmerich Nicole. Sandro Kane said, you are speaking of two different things. You have to get a framework to get together, and then when you get together, you create a vision for the people. Francis K. Whitworth Senior, the second says, seditions will never see anything good from the opposition. This is a framework and not a manifesto. Moe District, that's Gago Moe, say, why make this document public if it is not finalized?
Thank you, Gago. Can I respond? Thank you. Can I respond? I've been listening a lot. Can I
go ahead. Go ahead. Let's conclude on this.
The brother just talked about, it is important to consult the legal mind. Now, I'm not a legal mind. Neither am I a political scientist. I have not taken political science classes. But these are not justification to want to in any way play with our intelligence. You don't have to be a legal mind to deduce common sense from a document that is that is easily understood, right? I think we can all agree that there are things in this document that appears to be completely incomplete. I think that the people who should have consulted the legal minds were those who put together the document before releasing the document, not me. I'm only reading the document and I'm pointing out things that I find troubling within the document. So to Emmer, I think you are ahead of yourself. You should have consulted the legal minds. I wasn't part of those who put the document.
Mr. Gagua,
let me come back.
No, I'm not. Let me land. I haven't landed yet. Let me land, please.
Gentlemen, we're going to leave it there and move to the next.
No, can I land?
The document in itself is not even a legal document to have a legal mind.
Thank you. No, but you see, but these are comments. These are comments people.
Mr. Doe is a legal document. They sign it.
Hey, one second, please. One second.
Having the signature to a document doesn't mean
it make it legal.
Am I protected, sir? Am I protected?
Go ahead and conclude, Mr.
Thank you. I want to conclude so we move forward.
Too much time
but I'm being interrupted. But look, these are comments people make. These are very irresponsible comments people make out of emotions. I think that if the opposition wants to actually get more people who are in the middle, who does not see change in CDC, I think they have to change their mindset. Instead of attacking people who appears to be giving constructive criticism on a piece of work that could be better, that could have been drafted better. Instead of attacking people like myself and others and calling those names.
Robert, you have to leave it there. We can't give our show to you just to respond to a comment from somebody. Or you can do that another time. We're not going to allow that here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Focus on Liberia. I'm Anthony Sia, co-hosting with my friend Dennis Jai here, and we are discussing the major events that happened during this week. We have been discussing the CPP Framework sign. As you can see, it is a debatable topic, so we will leave it right there. But one thing I want to share with you, those guys also agree in their framework that if the vice president and the president from party A and B, they will elect the the Senate, the pro tem, and the deputy speaker from the other parties within the framework. And if they don't have people there, they will go to the independent to pick somebody. That document, I'm not a member, I will never be a member of them, but I think they did a good job in crafting the document. It is not perfect. It is not perfect. That's why they left room for recommendation. That will conclude it on that. Let us go to Charles Sirleaf. Charles Sirleaf made news. He alarmed that 700,000 United States dollars have been stolen from his account, and 10 million Liberian dollars also stolen from his account at GT Bank. Really? Well, Robert Gagwa is here, Eduardo is here, and my man, Mr. Finlay is here. Let's start with you, Desmond. When you heard the news for the first time, what was going through your mind?
You started with Desmond before, so he may feel that you were targeting him. Let's start with Doe this time.
Okay.
Yeah, Doe is the accountant, so let's start with him. This is money, the number of man.
I would say this. Mr. Sirleaf need to sue the bank, GT Bank, that's all. You got to take them to court, because if they were protecting his money, his asset, and it's stolen from the bank, then the bank is liable for that money. That's all I can say. Whether, now the other thing here is some people say, but he got the money illegally, so why can somebody else not steal it from him? Well, that's a judgment the court can make, whatsoever. If those people that are making those comments can take that to court that he got the money illegally, whatsoever, or the bank can make that judge that defense, say, listen, you got the money illegally, so somebody has stolen, But Mr. Sirleaf has the legal right, to sue the bank, because the money was his asset, was in the bank, and the bank's supposed to protect that asset. They are the one that's supposed to make sure Mr. Sirleaf money is safe. And that's all I can say to that.
So Kuni, do we have any right to doubt what Mr. Sirleaf is claiming?
Well, for me, I don't look at this issue within the financial and the legal context that others may view it. I look at it strictly as a political matter. And sometimes it leads me to the duplicity that is very prevalent among us. So, for example, let's set aside the fact that the money belongs to him, whether you earn it legally or illegally, whatever relationship between he and his bank, that's one thing. But I was just wondering, what would the Liberian people feel if we have heard that this is Samuel Stewart $700,000 that is missing? Will we be giving Samuel Stewart the benefit of the doubt? What would the Liberian people have been saying if even George Weah, who became millionaire before he became president, if that was George Weah $700,000, who are giving George Weah or other people that we have disagreement with, we have given them the benefit of the doubt that, yeah, the money is the legal money, so let it pursue the legal path. The obvious conclusion would be that the money, there would be no sympathy for these people.
What's your point, Mr. Kuni?
The point is the duplicity in us. That's the point I'm talking about. Now it is Mr. Sirleaf. Everybody is almost acquiescing as, almost greedy. Oh yeah, the man, what the bank did to the man is terrible. The man money and this and that. What I'm saying, if there were other people that we disagree with politically, we do not give them the benefit of the same doubt. It just went to the duplicity in us, that when things that we support, we rationalize it, and then we condemn things that we don't support. And it's very dangerous for our country. That's all I got to say. Mr.
Finlay.
So that's a lot to unload, right? What Mr. Kumi just said, it's a lot to unload. I'm not going to Mr. Kumi, Mr. Kumi is basically saying, let's forget about the crime that happened here. That's not.
No, it's not what I'm saying. No, it's not what I'm saying. Don't misquote me.
Hold on, Mr. Kumi.
But you shouldn't misquote me. I'm talking about the duplicity.
Mr. Kuni, let him speak, and then you can rebuttal. Let him speak.
Yeah. Right. So he's like, I'm not even going to address the crime not happening. I'm not even going to address anything.
The alleged crime.
The alleged crime. I'm just going to talk about the fact, if it was this person, I'm going to use my hypothetical, if you're here, the people would have reacted different. Well, we have the facts. We don't have a hypothetical. The fact of the matter is this. the fact, Mr. Doe, what you need to, one point you didn't realize, you didn't bring up here, it's not a bank being held liable here. What you need to understand is Mr. Sirleaf's account was held in receivership by the government when he got arrested. So the government put a hold on his account. So by the government putting a hold on the account, he couldn't access his money. Who the bank give the money to, that's where the question lies. So it's between the bank and the government. So
Thank you for that correction.
So it wasn't just if the bank didn't steal his money. The receivership that the government put on his account had access to the government to go there and take the money out.
But the bank would know what happened to the money, right?
But the bank is still liable for that because they're supposed to protect that receivership.
No, if they have receivership on the account and the government have I don't know the legal, you the accountant, you know better than this, so I'm not going to delve further into that. But that's another ring into that for people to understand. The government had a receivership on the main account, and therefore that's how the money, that I don't know what happened with the money. But the point I want to make here is this, right? We can't keep going trying to fix this country and say because it did it before, the other person can do it too. Nobody, Charles Sirleaf actually got not acquitted, but charges got dropped. No prosecutor, like on a few days before this. So he's criminal in any way, shape, or form. He was charged, the charges were dropped. He went for his money was missing. So even if this was Mr. Twe, if this was anybody else, the person should get their money back.
Right.
Okay, so can I make my clarification now?
So you
Can I make my clarification now?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, my brother Desmond tried to mischaracterize my comment. I did not say crime should not be investigated. I never said that. So it was really disingenuous. It was disingenuous on his part to state that. I'm talking about the duplicity that is in us. When certain things happen to certain people, we criticize, and when it happens to other people, we rationalize. It didn't say don't investigate crime. So he was totally out of line to make that suggestion. That's not true. That's not what I said.
Desmond, we are not hearing. Okay. Desmond already introduced the next thing that we're going to come to, which is the charges were dropped. So these two things happening almost at the same time. Charges dropped, money, reported stolen. Mr. Gagwa.
I am the first thing I'm going to say is, Mr. Johnson, I'm very disappointed in the we-are-led government. I am very, very disappointed. One of the things that though I did not support any political party or vote for any political leader, one of the things that I expected, and I would assume that many Liberians expected this government to do, was to audit the previous government. There's no secret that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf operated one of the most corrupt regime in Liberia. There's no secret. And so one would have thought that George Weah would have not intentionally gone after his predecessors, but would have done the right thing, which was to audit those guys. And he has failed to do that so far. $700,000 is no joke. I mean, I'm not sure if any of you guys are aware. Do you remember that Charles Sirleaf and some board members of the bank gave themselves $300,000 car loans? Have that money been paid back? What's the status on that? How are we supposed to know? And so that in itself does not excuse why his money is missing. I do concur with Desmond and the other gentleman, Edward, that I think the bank has to account for this because two wrongs does not make a right. That money has to be accounted for. It was in the bank, regardless of how he got the money, regardless of how he made the money was in the bank, and the bank should give account for it. But I think we have to ask serious questions when it comes to, are we serious about fighting corruption? Are we really serious about addressing the needs of those underprivileged Liberians that are actually in need? Because people like us, we will always be good. We will always be good. I always tell people, we will always be good. I don't have to work in government to live a luxurious lifestyle. My family and I will always be good. But what about the 80% of Liberians who are not or who does not have the opportunity like us. We have to get serious. So I'm disappointed in this government for not auditing and doing the right thing and auditing this Ellen Johnson's Sirleaf administration. Because if they did, we would discover that massive corruption took place and folks are roaming around this country with absolute on impunity, absolutely no accountability. Charles said he cannot tell the Liberian people that he worked for $700,000 in under 12 years. Completely not believable.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cooney, charges dropped, money reported missing. What do you see there? What's going on?
Well, look, with regard to the ideas of the money being missing, like I said, the money, according to the report, the money was given to a bank. The bank has not declared the money missing. So for me, I don't think the money is missing. Nobody knows the inner workings of the different activities regarding our account. So these are things that Mr. Sirleaf and the bank need to address. And if the government put the money in receivership, these are things too maybe the government have to address. But with regard to the fact that charges are dropped, these are routine prosecutorial decisions. I don't know what is in the mind of the prosecution. I've not seen the evidence besides public revelation. So if the prosecution think that it is in their best judgment to drop the charges from looking from the outside, there's nothing that we can say. But a point of one fact, we are all getting concerned in our country why these high-profile corruption charges, either they are dropped or the government is unable to win these cases. And putting on my law enforcement hat, I think it speaks to a larger issue. I think maybe we're having some challenges in investigation, some challenges in evidence collection, and maybe some challenges within the overall criminal justice system in our country. From investigation to trial. So
Mr. Cooney,
maybe, yeah.
I'm calling you to a point. You were talking about duplicity, how others will choose to rationalize something if they are some way or the other connected to whether it be a political affiliation, will rationalize it. And then when it's on the opposite side, they will try to talk about it the other way. You are rationalizing the issue here, even putting up your law enforcement cap. A wrong is a wrong, no matter who commits that wrong. According to the Solicitor General, he said Robert's only mistake was reckless decision making on his part. Because remember now, Robert was the deputy governor for operation. He spearheaded the printing and the infusion of the money. And he made a decision that the infused money out of, and then the money that's supposed to be destroyed was not destroyed. According to Serena Seaford, he said that was the only mistake that Robert Sirleaf made. Is on that basis the driver charge. Is that something you will buy?
But listen, I'm not rationalizing here. I'm telling you what prosecutors do.
Charles Sirleaf, not Robert Sirleaf.
I'm telling you what I'm telling you what prosecutors do routinely in criminal investigation. You can even find someone who is part of the crime that for some reason, if there is a prosecutorial benefit, that the prosecution can drop charges based on what benefit they want to derive from the case. That's what I'm telling you. So I'm not rationalizing anything. I don't agree with it, but I'm just telling you these are possibilities. It's not rationalization.
Thank you. Let Desmond come in, and to our viewers, you can call to join the discussion. The number is posted 605-313-6004. The code is 791403. Mr. Finlay.
All right. So first thing I want to say here, I'm just talking about this. Charles Sirleaf and I made a comment. There's no way Charles Sirleaf will work in 12 years and make $700,000, right?
He made like $25,000 a year a month, right?
And this is not fair. This is part of the problem, but I'm going to mention this, right? If we just be
Mr.
There's a
Finley,
background noise.
we're losing you at some point. Your voice is, you're not audible at some point.
That's me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. If Charles Sirleaf made $10,000 per month for 12 years, that's 144 months. That's $1 million over a period of 12 years. And we know he made more than that, right? So it's not about whether he made the money or he didn't make the money. The issue is not here because you're not stealing money. There's no charges with Charles for stealing money. So the thing here is, he first said this guy made a mistake, a reckless mistake in pointing $2-point-something billion. That's not a crime. Who's talking?
Someone's phone is on. You got to mute it.
Mr. Doe, is it?
No, it's not me.
I think it's Mr. Well. I think it's Wellman.
It's not me.
Go ahead, Desmond.
So you say the guy made a reckless mistake. The person in charge of printing, distribution, and signing contract for this money made a reckless decision, and yet he walked scot-free out of jail. The reason why Ellen Johnson government never got audited, because the money that they got, the money that Ellen Johnson stole, whatever she stole that Robert is talking about, is in George Weah's pocket. George Weah cannot
Can I make a comment, please?
Hold on, let him learn.
Yeah, I cannot audit Ellen because when you haul rope, haul bush. While Ellen is not audited. So Robert, don't be disappointed yet. It's the system that you're in.
Mr. Doe, your comment, 30 seconds, then we go to our
Yeah, I keep hearing about this audit thing, audit. Every time I turn around, Liberians talk about audit. This is a moot conversation, really. We are government is in 3 years now, whatsoever. They're not going to audit Ellen, whatsoever. So why raise this issue up? It's a waste of time. And Robert, I'm sorry that I had to rain on you this way, but I think the audit issue for you to raise that's unnecessary. It has nothing to do with Charles Sirleaf case. This is a different case entirely that he was prosecuted for. It was not charges of corruption or impropriety of funds or things of that nature. So to raise the issue up about audit and all that stuff, that's a moot issue, and I don't think that should be a point of discussion.
Are you saying it's moot because the government is incapable or unwilling to do that?
Unwilling to do that. I don't know about the government capabilities, but they are unwilling to do that.
30 seconds, Robert, so we can open.
Well, I respect Mr. Doe's opinion on that, and he's entitled to his opinion. But we all know that you can say Charles Sirleaf made $25,000 a month, and even mentioning how much he made a month in a country, in a country like Liberia is in itself embarrassing and actually shameful. But I think we know that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf ran one of the most corrupt administration government in Liberia. And even if she didn't, but the proof is important. Even if she didn't pocket money or save money in her bank account, whose account is she going to put those funds in? And so, look, I think our audit would do Liberia justice, and will also give clarity to some of these.
But Robert, why you think the Weah government is not auditing the Sirleaf government? Why
look, I like to speak on facts, and so I'm not going to, like Desmond said, I'm not going to say because the money is in George Weah pocket.
No, I mean you, not Desmond. What you think?
I personally think that there is the lack of wealth. There is wealth because the system is messed up. The system is messed up. Let me give you an example.
The system that we are is
the system
messed up.
Well, the system in its entirety is messed up. Let me give you an example, right? Alice Cummings is now in bed with folks that have questionable characters. You looked at people like Bernard Uri. You look at all those guys; these are not changed folks.
You are shifting. You are shifting.
No, I'm just saying. And so I assume the point that I'm making is I assume that the system is so messed up in a sense that You cannot get to the level George Weah got without getting favor from people he should be holding accountable. And so if he got elected based on the help that he got from Ellen Jones and Sirleaf, you and I can answer the question, is he going to audit Ellen Jones and Sirleaf?
That's exactly what Desmond said, and you disputed it.
And in a sense, I agree with him. Where I disagree, though, to just bluntly say that there are funds in George Weah pocket, I don't have the facts to that, and so I won't make those assertions. That's all I'm saying.
But then, Robert, why you continue to bring up the idea of audit? You know, definitely the Weah government is unwilling to do that.
Well, it mean.
They said they promised.
It's a moot issue.
Yeah, but they said they were going to do it, and so that's why I'm disappointed that the fact that we're in third year they haven't done that yet.
So you eat my rest, you gotta sing my song, huh?
And the duplicity continues. People,
right.
we question the bank account of people who make millions, but we justify the bank account of people who make thousands over the years. That's the duplicity I'm talking about.
Mr. Cooney, let's keep the conversation within this framework.
It is within the framework. We are justifying that Charles Sirleaf legitimately earned 700 or close to 800.
I don't think that's the discussion, but at least
we are having it in a discussion.
Okay.
We are having it in a discussion.
All right. Thank you. We're gonna go to our phone.
We don't know that for a fact because we don't have an audit how much he made.
We're going to go to the phone lines, Mr. CA. But one thing that is clear, I think all of you here are visible, new, and active.
Only on FOL.
You got that now.
Only on FOL.
Or maybe you are active.
So, Mr. CA, we can go to our phone lines now.
Yeah, Mr. Ja, bring in a caller, and then after that, we'll go to the next topic.
Let's bring on Mr. Aliyu Kamara. Mr. Kamara, you are live, or hold on 1 second. Let me press all the buttons. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Aliyu Kamara. You are live. Oh, no, Mr. CA, I don't think our phone lines are connected yet.
Are you sure?
So Aliyu, please hold your thought. We're going to work to connect the phone lines.
The phone lines are not active.
All right. Mr. Ja, check
the phone lines are visible. They are new, but they are not active.
They are not active.
So, Mr. Ja, make them active from my end. Yeah, they're looking active. No. So we should be able to bring our callers in. Anyway,
no,
ladies and gentlemen.
I don't see the phone lines active on here.
Okay. All right, we'll work on that. Let's go to our next issue, something related to this same audit and money issue. That is ARIET. And ARIET is the Assets Recovery, Restitution, and Investigation Team, or investigative team, if you like. Is a team that was constituted by the president, and the goal was to try to recover about $4 billion United States dollar. The team, or the government, I believe, was stolen from the Liberian government, and that team was headed by Serena Cephas and co-chaired by Arthur Johnson. Arthur Johnson at some point resigned because, according to his resignation letter, the government does not have the political will to go ahead with the functions for which that institution or that committee was put together by the president. And later on, we learned that that particular team is dead. It's no more. What does that say about the government stay on the issue of audit, fighting corruption, and trying to restitute some of our money? Next door in Freetown, about 25 billion leon has been recovered by that government in Freetown. In Liberia, there's not a single report yet, to our knowledge, about money being reported. Edward, I will start with you. You are the accountant. We're talking money here. Money stolen, we can't get it. Why?
Well, the same thing applies to what we just spoke about, the will of the government. You know, I mean, the fact of the matter here that if you form a committee, you know, to collect, you know, stolen money or recover assets from the government, and you defunct on it, you don't have the willpower to do that, you know, you spend resources already by forming this team. You pay people salaries and all of that stuff. That's money. You know, you budgeted for that team, you know, whatsoever, that's money you're spending. And now the team did not perform, they did not do the duties that they were put together for, you know, then what's the whole idea of auditing? I mean, we don't have any audit functioning body in Liberia at all, nothing at all, you know, down to the government, in every department, in every ministry, there is no auditing there, nothing of that nature, no internal audit and no external audit. And that's bad for a government and that's bad for the country. You know, the fact of the matter here is that if this team is defunct and no asset will recover, that speaks volume about this government, you know, position on auditing and on corruption.
And this team, we're not going to stay long on this one. At some point, requested around a little over $1 million to do its job, and it was reported at some point they were giving around $200,000 to start. They came to America here, and they were in hotels, and they said they were trying to work with an international firm here to help them recover that money. You know, no report whatsoever up to this time, and that institution. Now, many people have also complained that, hey, why are you duplicating function? You have LACC, you have the auditing commission, and now this one. And you know, so where are we, Desmond?
The first thing here, the formation of this area was like, in my opinion, a big scam. So it was a scam between Serena Cephas and Arthur Johnson to take money out of the government coffers here, right? So they're saying they're going to recover $4.something billion of Liberian stolen money. They're lawyers. Arthur Johnson is a private lawyer. That's simple. Give him the same thing that they do in America. If he find the money, he take 33.3% of that $4.3 billion, right? That's almost $300 million he's getting right there for himself, for his firm. If he really believed those money was stolen, that's the offer the government gives, because if the government sit here and try to establish a different function. I listened to Samuel Tour today. The first time ever I'll ever listen to Tour. He was on Lena for over 2 hours. And he made some points. He was talking about the same arresting people for corruption and prosecuting people for corruption. He said, Liberians need to understand, what do we consider to be prosecution effectively for corruption in our country? Is the arrest enough? Right? Is your judicial system enough? Do the people understand that if the man is, if you're arrested and found not guilty, is your life okay to work again? Are you a rogue now? So the corruption is a discussion that we need to have nationally, right? But Arthur Johnson and Serena Cephas thought it off as a ploy to take $1 million out of government coffers by saying they're going to look for $1 billion. You get them $1 million to start. Do it for your country. Do it for your country. Do it for your country. And this that you're talking about, this area thing, I can't talk about it any longer because it's funny to me that they tried to take $1 million. They even got $200,000. They got lucky. They got lucky. They did the same thing. Another group, Kofa on the Ellen, got $1 million plus to prosecute Vani Sharma. That's why Vani Sharma went free today. $1 million plus to give him outside of government funding to go prosecute Vani Sharma and Alex Tyler. Today, Vani Sharma walking free. So who's suffering there by establishing these outside agencies to do this job that government already paying people to do? We got $290 million payroll. You don't need nobody else outside to give them money to do that. That's just that's my stand on that.
Mr. Coney, let's conclude on that.
Yeah, you know, there is this popular saying that, you know, the people who don't learn from the people who don't learn from their history, they keep repeating the same mistake, and this is what happened here. I remember in 1980, after the coup, there was a similar commission that was set up. They call it the Bureau of Reacquisition, and this bureau was to retrieve on behalf of the people of Liberia ill-gotten wealth from previous government officials. That bureau didn't go anywhere, and that is the same card we're playing today. I think the creation of these kind of bureaus, they are unnecessary. I think what needs to be done is to strengthen our integrity institutions, to also strengthen our investigative bodies to go after crime when they are committed. But to wait for years to pass, and then you set up a committee to say that you're going after ill-gotten wealth. It's just something that never worked in our country. So that just my take on it.
Why you think this history keep repeating?
Because we don't learn from it. That's why I said people who don't learn from their history keep making the same mistakes. If someone has read on
your last talk on this topic, and then we move on.
Sir, let's move on.
All right. Do we have our phone lines ready now, Mr. Sia?
Yeah, the phone lines are ready. You can go to them. Phone lines are ready.
All right. Oh, Mr. Aliu Kamara, you are still on. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having it. By the way, Sia, you did not respond to my message. Anyway, well, I thank you guys in the studio for the conversation. I thank these two magnificent hosts for hosting you guys today again, bringing so much knowledge. Some of us who are not very in tune with law, with history, with accounting and economy to the level in which you guys are speaking. We are here gaining and galvanizing knowledge in the best possible way. Well, one thing I want to just tell all of us, the analysis and the critiquing of George Weah and his entourage is all good. It exhibits how much intelligence they have. The reality remains is that nothing is going to change in Liberia. You have a solicitor general. Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay. You have a solicitor general making a paralegal statement, a statement that just a paralegal would not make. Talking about Mr. Charles Sirleaf and some of the other people whom he's dropped charges on, did something reckless and they were just witnesses or they were just there when the action took place. We are talking about people in the highest hierarchy of the Central Bank of Liberia. But one of the craziest things that guy did that had me baffled, in fact, he put me in a complete oblivion, was the issue of Mrs. Ellen Crackle. The man said he would drop charges against the woman because the money that she stole was not enough. When did less stealing become less punishable than more stealing? I mean, I don't get some things that these guys do. I mean, he says he's the vice president for an international legal body, but it's just common sense. If you ate in a bed, that's what he said. The guy ate in a bed. If you ate in a bed, it's a crime under the law. I mean, I don't know much. You know, I went to school for healthcare administration. I know nothing about law, but it just don't add up to me.
Okay.
So man, huh?
No, I said thank you, Aliu.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me bring in please jot down our panelists. Let's bring in Mr. Sando Kone. He's a financial guy, broker. Sando, what's up?
Yes. Dennis, you can hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, cool, thanks. And again, Dennis, you know, I love your show. Thank you for always bringing great subjects.
Somebody is listening to your monitor. Please stop that.
Sando, you can tune down the one and let's talk through the phone.
Okay, yeah, so you're good now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And Dennis, thanks for bringing this, and thanks to all the panelists. You know, great discussion. I usually go on YouTube to go over the shows after they're done. But this caught me. Robert,
Yes.
I will say this: audit, right? When we talk about audit, we talk about auditing. People, the auditors that's coming there really does not know the system, right? People have to, I think Edward can attest to this, people have to provide documentation. People have to provide forensic facts. A system that is built upon paper and vouchers and typewriter being used, not even computers. There's no electronic print of signature to say this person signed this. Who will you audit? who will be able to prove? Who will be able to prove anything? That's why the Liberian government will not win. The Liberian government will not win. Anyone, any good lawyer will beat the Liberian government because the lack of system, the lack of electronic prints, right? The lack of compliance, lack of transparency, accountability. Okay.
Sandro, you know better than I do. Audit should not be done at the end, right? This should be routine. Internal audits
should be routine. Internal audit should be routine. Okay, forget about auditing the government. Liberia has had audits, right? GAC have had audits. A lot of other smaller audits have occurred during the time of Ellen and George Weah. The judicial system cannot beat them. That's just reality. That's just reality. I think what we have to focus on, the government has to focus on, is put systems in place that going forward will be able to capture electronic prints, will be able to say, you know what, as soon as this person touches a dollar, right? When it starts from the counter of a government collector, as soon as that person touches dollar, the electronic print starts from that dollar until it expands to outside of the government. And even if it expands, that dollar can be tracked to who it's going to. Because, for example, you were talking about Sirleaf. Charles Sirleaf money get missing, and Wilmer was saying that, oh, if Edward said that if the bank says that, oh, it was a stolen money, let the bank say it was stolen money, and so because of that, the money was stolen from the bank. If I'm the government, I'm going to limit fine on the bank 10 times the money that was stolen, because guess what? That was fraud. That's fraud. That money laundering, right? If you consciously say that the money was stolen money, but you took it and put it in your bank, and now the money is stolen, you and the person who put the money in the bank is going down. So I think the issue of corruption in Liberia right now is actually will. There's no will to create system. Right now, we can wipe out what has passed. We can put forensic electronic system in place. And I think that's what the government needs to spend money on. But guess what? This topic we're having today, we will be having it after George Weah in order to come. And I think Edward can kind of maybe back me up on that. Because it's all about compliance, it's all about transparency, it's all about accountability, and it's all about having prints.
Yeah, let me
anything that someone touches.
Let me just come in, Mr. Janice.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make a quick comment. The misconception about audit is that most Liberians think that audit is there to, find somebody guilty and lock them up. No, audit is there to improve the system, to make the system stronger, whatsoever. Because if there's loopholes in the system, you try to cover that loophole. We do have a system, but we're not doing a routine audit. So the system is not improved. It's not getting stronger. We don't strengthen the system. And that's the misconception we have about audit, Liberians have about audit. Oh, we don't want audit because it will find us, we did something wrong, they will jail us, blah, 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 blah. No, we want to strengthen the system. Maybe we need to educate government officials and civilians. The importance of audit is to strengthen the system, make it stronger. If there's loopholes in the system, we want to cover the loopholes. As your caller was saying, that we don't have an electronic system, whatsoever. We never have an electronic system because we don't do an audit that will require us to build up a system or to move into that direction, you see. So we still do that 6 column, accounting, and you do that paperwork, whatsoever, which is more tedious, which is not accountable. You don't have that strong accountability in those kind of in accounting. We're in the 21st century, and then we're still using the 6-column accounting sheet and whatsoever. No, we should be having enough computers and electronics to do our accounting on software, accounting software. So if we don't have audits routinely, we can never improve our system. Our system will still remain that way it is today.
Thank you. And we always think of audit and say money, but there are different kinds of audits, including compliance and different things.
Compliance, yes.
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah, sure.
Listen, since we have Mr. Doyer, one of the experts in this field, something that's actually been troubling to me, I don't know, maybe it's related to the kind of institutions that we have. But what is baffling is that if you look at the Liberian situation, you find all the reports of entities, government entities, audit that took place in like 2013, 2014, just coming up, just being made public. When even some of those functionaries, people that were heading those agencies, they know where to be found. But now we have an audit report from 2015, 2016. I don't know what is responsible for that kind of delayed reporting system that we have in our country.
Well, the same thing boils down to the kind of system we have, because if you had an audit in 2013 and you have the report coming out in 2020, what's the point of having an audit? It's useless.
Exactly.
It's useless. Whatsoever. Once the audit is done, the findings of that audit should be given, and the recommendations to that audit should be given, as to what need to be improved. If there's any adverse, transaction, it needs to be corrected, those kind of things. So the recommendations with the findings of the audit should be reported immediately. You don't hold it for a year, a couple or several months before you can do that and present the report. No.
We have a show on audit in the pipeline, because I think one of the most conception in Liberia is audit. Anytime the audit has been given a very bad rap, because people understand audit to be witch hunting. But
exactly.
Audit should be to improve the system. So, people come and audit and see whether your fire alarm, your exit doors, all those things are audit. But let's go to our caller, Mr. Kesely Double is on the line. Kesely, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you, Mr. Ja.
Yes, sir. Your contribution.
Yeah.
And thanks to your guests for coming on the platform. My contribution will have to do with the document that was prepared by
CPP.
the CPP.
Yep.
Mr. Ja, you and I know that every document for that matter, every piece of paper that have been put together. I mean, just educationally, every piece of paper that was put together to govern a certain institution undergo changes as time goes by. The paperwork that was put together by the CPP, especially the portion that we are all discussing right now, last session, 10.11.3, that has to do with jobs, is ambiguous. My veritor had a problem with it. As far as the document came up, that was the first portion of the document that I posted on Facebook. That portion. What I think the party should have done was that they should not have prioritized that portion within the document. Or for any reason it was being prioritized in the document, they should have come out to explain it in detail, and I hope they can do it now that they are hearing the noise coming about it. Come out and explain to the people why this portion was put in it and what the meaning of this portion, so that we can move forward. There are some good things in the document.
Mr.
Because of this portion that's a little bit ambiguous. Yes, sir.
What do you mean they are prioritizing it? It's the readers that are prioritizing it, not those who wrote it.
I agree with that. They wrote it for us. It was not written for them alone.
Okay.
It was written to govern the country so that tomorrow when they take over. I mean, it is a document that is for every one of us. So for the fact that we recognize something in it that we think it is not correct, in our view, they should come out and tell us something about it. Break it down to the layman point of view. I mean, if there's any legal terminology that is put in there, break it down. We are all not legal professionals, so that we can be able to understand it well.
Thank you.
And on the part that has to do with the Solicitor General, criminals I'm sorry to say on your platform, are people with sweet mouth. This is a man, even before taking over this job, he has boasted all over the place. Every time this Solicitor General go on any podcast, the first thing he tells the people is who he is, his qualification, his this and that, and all sorts of things. This man came over and said that in 2 weeks' time, I will bring people in the station in handcuffs. And I promised the Liberian government in less than a year, I will bring back $4 billion that was stolen. And guess what? He wanted $100,000. So it's like you're coming to us, you want a loan from us as a country, and you're going to bring us return on investment. We give you $100,000 initially. You want $100 million? I mean $1 million. We'll give you $100,000 initially. The $100 million going to, I mean the $100,000 going to fiasco, and the $4 billion you coming to bring us. We got nothing back. And this is a government that claims to be fighting corruption. I mean, let's leave the lip service thing. Stop pretending. This government itself is as corrupt as anything. I think this is the right time for the former GAC boss, Molu, who said Malawi government was 10 times as corrupt as Charles Sirleaf government or Judy Brown government to come on now and tell us how many times is this government corrupt, because I would say over 100 times. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Thank you. Let me take our last caller and then we go back to our panelists. Mr. Joe Moyo.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Mr. Ja, as usual. Very interesting topic. You asked a question as to why WIA doesn't want to audit the previous government. And I probably got an answer. WIA was part of the previous government. He was peace ambassador. He had an office. He had a staff. He gave him a couple of millions of dollars to run that office. So, it goes without saying, that's a pretty good chance. That's the reason why. Another thing, with regards to the banking system, Liberia is saturated with Nigerian banks. I think 80% of the banks in Liberia are Nigerian owned. We really don't have Liberian owned banks besides, I think, LBDI. And that's the only one. And so when it comes to best practices, as I speak, there's a friend of mine that was put in prison. And, to protect his privacy, I won't call his name. But when he got out of prison, he stayed there less than a year. They have wiped his account out of like $25,000. So that seems to be pretty much the rule in Liberia now with those Nigerian-owned banks.
Okay. So
it's sad, but it's true. If you have a country where 80% of your banks are owned by all people Nigerians, of course you have that sort of situation. Like I said, it's more like it's pretty much the rule now. That, so what happened to Charles Sirleaf?
Of all people in Nigeria, I don't want you to say that you are making some wild allegations here.
So, but Mr. Ja, you and I know that what Nigerians, and I hate to say it because I'm a Pan-African.
I hate for you to generalize too. Please don't.
Okay, I'm sorry. Nigerians, they're our brothers. They're very proper people and all that. But we have a problem. Let me tell you what happened to a friend of mine who came from Liberia. He took $800 out of his bank, which is Nigerian owned. He went to Walmart. He left Liberia. He went to Walmart. The same $800 he took out. He had it in a row. He went to Walmart to go and buy, some stuff. I think he wanted to buy a fridge and other stuff. And all $800 were counterfeit. So they had him right there. They called the Secret Service because they don't want to handle the American, when it comes to counterfeit and all that. They pretty much they handle that sort of stuff.
I don't know where this
and he was lucky. He was lucky that he called Fumba Sirleaf, and Fumba Sirleaf explained to the Secret Service that yes, we have been monitoring this sort of situation, and the Secret Service knew that Fumba Sirleaf had worked with them on some other cases. some other cases regarding counterfeit, and that's how they let that guy go.
Thank you.
So I hope at some point one day that you will have, you know, one of the topics will be about how safe is our money in the banks in Liberia, because they're not safe anymore.
Let's take that
It's
offline.
not.
Thank you, Mr. Moyo.
Yeah, thanks for the time, sir.
Thank you. Mr.
All
Sirleaf,
right.
back to you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Focus on Liberia. I'm Anthony Seal, hosting with Mr. Dennis Guy, and we are trying to crisscross all the major headlines that make news during the week. Robert Gagwa is here, Mr. Eduardo is here, Wilma Cooney is here, and Desmond is also in the house. Gentlemen, let's go to another topic. The members of the House of Representatives pocketed $17,000 each. Those boys were seen, those men and women were seen at the Central Bank of Liberia in Q, collecting $17,000 each. The explanation that we got based on reports that we read, two reasons. Number one, well, that was their arrears that was now being given to them, so they reached a deal with the executive for them to get $17,000 and waive some, and their arrears, the package was about their gasoline slip and other benefits. So the executive is saying, hey, you know, money business is tough, we can give you 17,000, you can waive the rest. But they have report also that, hey, the government is giving them this money as an inducement for them to pass the recast budget. Whatever the actual story is, these guys walk away with 17,000 again, just about the time they were having a piece of job to do for the Liberian people, which was to ratify an agreement. So, gentlemen, what is going on here? Wilma Cooney, this one is political. That's your strong area. You go first.
Well, you know, I'm just going to be very brief. I mean, so that I don't get caught up again.
You are highly protected.
We're talking about.
Yeah.
You had to put a disclaimer in there.
You will not be one Bodiki. Go ahead.
Look, this is precisely the point that we continue to make on this show. The opposition has no new agenda for that country. All the opposition want is inherit the system as it is and continue the status quo. You're talking about $17,000 in dubious payment to lawmakers. But let's step back for a minute. Who controls the legislature? The legislature is controlled by the very CPP. They control the legislature. They are the majority in the legislature. They are the ones that are approving these payments. They are the ones that are benefiting from these payments. And these are the same guys that got the nerve to look at other people's face and talk about corruption. So we're talking about 17,000 that is pocketed by largely opposition lawmakers. I'm not saying the governing institution is not there, but I'm talking about who controls that entity. That entity is controlled by the CPP, by any count. Just a fortnight ago, we were talking about $6,000. So, you know, we're in a democracy. We want alternative. For the CCP to stand up, we want to say, what do you really stand for? These guys, they make loud noise about declaring assets. Not a single lawmaker in the entire opposition has declared any asset. Do you really want us to take you serious when you make these promises?
Except for Dillon. Let me make that clarification. Except for Dillon. He did declare his asset.
Well, we're not talking about isolated cases. I'm talking about we got 103 lawmakers. We got 103 lawmakers.
You said not a single one, and I have to make that correction.
No, I said the legislature has not declared their assets. You know, none. So if you criticizing the government or the president for not declaring his asset, do you think Liberians are dumb enough not to question your own motive? So this is the duplicity. For us, we want to point out the duplicity of the system.
Okay, so the opposition thing aside, what's wrong with the 17,000?
It's very dubious to me. I don't know. Look, the very fact that these money are being received during the passage of landmark legislation should be worrying to every Liberian. The legislature is being paid. There is a routine process to pay out their benefits. There should be a routine process. The fact that they are receiving this money on the eve of the passage of the major national legislation should be cause for concern.
Right.
Mr. Kuni, I agree with you. What's about the executive that also provided this money or gave the money to the members of the legislative ballot? What does it say about the legislature? Because the last time I checked, the spending or the expenditure power of our budget lies within the hands of the executive.
No, that's not true. The legislature control the power of the purse, except that they control the power of the purse. It's not the executive.
I just said spending. They don't spend, they appropriate. So it is the the executive that spend the money.
Yeah, but the executive spend what they appropriate, so they control the power of the purse.
Okay. Robert, you were listening religiously. Kuni was talking, and you were smiling too. Something tells me you're not satisfied there. Your thoughts?
No, you're funny. Look, it's a coincidence that every time the legislature have to do something that is part of their requirement, it's part of their responsibility that they get something, right? Yeah. The last time they had to sign or authorize
the stimulus
package, a stimulus package, they received $6,500 for what was described as operational fund, right? And now the recast budget, they are receiving $17,000. Look, the justification in itself, is insensitive to the current pandemic and to the lives of those that they represent. It's just sad. It's sad. And I want to know this. I mean, was there any lawmaker that rejected the $17,000?
No.
The light Delon, did he go to the bank? Was he at Central Bank receiving his as well?
Well, the information is the Senate is yet to make a decision on it. They have not concurred yet.
The Senate has not concurred. The Senate has not concurred yet. Well, look, it's disappointing. It's disappointing. I mean, for lawmakers to be receiving, serious note, for lawmakers to be receiving such a huge amount at this point, critical time in our country, it is absurd. It is disappointing. I would not have been a part of that. And no sane Liberian will concur that such action isn't insensitive to the plight of the Liberian people. And so I'm really speechless. I'm very, very speechless when it comes to that.
Bravo, I can tell the way you are expressing yourself that you don't know how to even
get
your head around it. My man, Mr. Finlay.
Right, and Mr. Finlay, before you come in, it's becoming a pattern now that anytime you talk about something wrong, you or Mr. Kuni have some strong words for the opposition.
Me?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, you brought in that Abraham Darius DeLong when we're talking about the 17,000.
Are you going to see, but Mr. Jai, if you're not going to allow me to respond, then I don't think it's fair to bring it up. Because are you going to give me a minute? Are you going to give me a minute to speak on that?
We'll come to that, and I want
Mr. Can I have a minute to speak on that? Because again,
that will be later. Let Mr.
I think Mr. Conde will allow me a minute. Can you just specifically call me out?
Right.
Can I? Yes.
Yeah, Robert, hold on. Let Mr. Finlay finish. You will come.
I'm sorry.
I won't be too long. Just hold on 1 second.
Okay.
So the fact that there's twofold here, right? There's something called quid pro quo, right? So what we're discussing the quo, the end of the situation, but the quid part nobody wants to admit. Why would the executive deem it fit to pay these guys $2,000 in arrears at this time when they needed something passed? That's the question I want to know.
I can answer that.
Because I know the answer to that. It's a rhetorical question. I know the answer to that. The reason why they're paying this money now, because it's in their own interest. They just got 23% from the Ministry of Health in this day and age that was approved. 23% got caught of that budget. Finance Ministry went up to They went from 80 million. I don't know who actually, their increase went up by $5 million in the budget, in the recast budget. Foreign affairs went up. The Ministry of State went up. But healthcare got cut by 23%. Education got cut. So they said
public work went up.
Public work went up, right? The police $1 million. Justice Ministry went up. And I understand because people working overtime. So there's some rational things here that happen in this budget, but we'll discuss it at length. But the point I want to make here is clearly this. These guys are wrong for receipt. They're wrong for taking this money at this point in time, right? If first thing, their arrears should have never been held up. Now they're being paid because the executive have something, some level of criminality here for them to exhibit for this recast of this budget not to be questioned. And I'm pretty proud of, I'm very, very proud of Senator Dillon, very, very proud. Because for the reason why I'm proud of Dillon, that every time something is mentioned about it, how somebody calls his name in for criticism, or did Dillon receive this money? The last time they talked about the $6,500, right? Everybody was complaining about Dillon but the fact that 29 other senators accepted that money wasn't an issue. 29 money, Dillon told you how he spent his. They didn't even account how theirs was spent.
Can I respond, please?
You'll respond, but let me finish. You'll respond. The reason why I like
when I get a chance to come in on, gosh.
So I like the fact that everybody talk about Dillon because Dillon has set a standard. It may not be the best center.
He's not living up to it. Now what they talk about him?
Not even close. Stop.
So the fact of the matter is that Dillon has set a standard that you never had before is the reason why Dillon is even mentioned in this discussion today.
Right. No, because he's not living up to it. That's why he's doing.
All right, Robert, you're 1 minute, and then we'll go to Mr. Doe. Mr. Doe has been waiting.
I haven't gone live in a minute, so I think I will do my audience a favor and go live maybe one of these days. But
no, Robert, then you call me. You and myself can do it in the morning.
Yeah, let's do that. But let me just say this. Mm-hmm. When Abraham Dillon, before he got elected, he talked about government spending thousands of dollars, $30,000 to $40,000 buying purchasing car for lawmakers because he thought they made too much. Guess what? When he got elected, there was a justification as to why he accepted the car. You know what I would have done? I would have said, take that car back. I would drive my old Nissan, my old Honda to work. That's one. Had he done that, I would have sent Dillon a $1,000 check as my contribution to his election. When it came to accepting $6,500, even in the midst of a pandemic, you know what he said? It was legal. But guess what? Why is Abraham Dillon not accepting his full $15,000, $16,000 salary? Is it not law? Is it not law? You know the justification he made about that? He said it was wrong. So if it was wrong to accept $15,000, $16,000 in a country where folks, 80% of the folks live below $1 a day, and you are giving a part of that back to your people, why is it okay to accept $6,500? The point that I want to make is this. It's one thing to say, I'm changed. It's one thing to say, here is what I stand for. It's another thing when your action matches or aligns with what you speak about. Anyone can talk the sweet talk. You and I can come in and say, hey, you know what? I'm this, I'm that. But if your action does not match what you preach about, then what is the essence? So all this talk about, hey, you know what? I'm proud of this, I'm proud of that. If you are partaking in some of the things that you speak against, then what makes you different? And I think the reason why people specifically call him out is because he has distinguished himself to be different. And when you do that, you are obligated to behave differently. He hasn't done that. And that's just the fact.
Thank you, Robert. Your 1 minute is over. Mr. Sear, can we move on to our last issue?
Yeah, Mr. Doe.
I haven't spoken yet.
Oh, I think Mr. Doe hasn't
Mr. Doe was going for food. That's why we missed him. Go ahead, Mr. Doe.
Yes, 17,000. How many times did I say that? 3 times. 3 times. This is a joke. Really. Liberia is so sad, that the legislative branch of government and the executive branch of government continues to play the Liberian people, especially in this time of a pandemic that is going on. I will say this: Liberian politicians, have turned the legislative branch of government, the executive branch of government, the agencies, the commissioners, the board of directors into a lucrative refuge for political flunkies. They are all political flunkies. They are not doing what they're supposed to be doing for Liberian people, what they were elected to do, to supposed to be doing for the Liberian people. They are there to enrich themselves. So they have taken this refuge in the House of Representatives, in the legislative, in the senatorial branch of government, in the executive branch of government, even in the agencies and the commissioners and public board of directors. All of them is after money. You know, they're not there to do the work of the people. $17,000 because you haven't gotten your perks. You know, you haven't gotten this, so therefore now you have to recast a budget, and then you have to get your price by force. To me, they're forcing themselves in getting money, you know. And the point you guys are talking about DeLon. I know Abraham DeLon. I've met him. You know, he and I have debated. You know, whatsoever. He's a nice guy. Abraham DeLon is doing very well to me. He's making some standards, and he's a talk about in Senator today. You know, at least we have somebody who's taking a stand, who's taking a position on certain things. He's making some claim to certain things that the legislative branch of government should not be doing, and I like that. If we have many, if we have many of DeLon, definitely we would have improved our legislative branch of government. We wouldn't have flunkies. And I can tell you this, Abraham DeLon is not a flunky.
Let me read some comments here. Our Kessley Dover said there are other countries like Sierra Leone who are conducting audits and are succeeding with the same system in Liberia, if not worse. Victor Ma says they ate that money because of elections. Sheila Naya said, why don't you guys read people's questions on this show? Sheila, we are so sorry. If you have any question, I checked through. I didn't see any question from you, but we will do our best. Christopher Wesley said, FOL, please invite Senator Darius DeLon to elaborate on this 17,000 dish out to the legislature. The senator was on Spoon TV a few hours ago, and this issue was brought up. Mr. Christopher Wesley, we have invited Mr. DeLon several times. Just a few weeks ago, we even spoke to his representative here, Mr. Emmanuel Yato, and he promised to bring DeLon on, but that has not materialized, but we are making efforts. Francis, let me read a few more comments. Renzi Labla said, at least DeLon is doing his best. Robert, you say it is a fact and which is not just you. I don't understand that. All right, so those are a few of our comments. Mr. C, our last story for the day. And I think that's on the rib.
That's on the rib. And ladies and gentlemen, rape has been reported so frequently now in our country. And it is so depressing that as little as sometimes 10 years old will be raped by somebody as old as 40. This thing is alarming our country and is so depressing. Despite women of age who are qualified for that apple, but yet some people are going below the belt and looking for the apple that is not even ripe yet. Why are these people doing this thing? This thing troubles me a lot, and sometimes I don't know the right words to use. So I would let Mr. Ja lead on this segment of rape. Why are we having this?
Right, and I want our panelists to weigh in. Number one, is it because of social media? Is it being reported more, or this has really been happening? And people are being raped to death. I mean, case, you know, and there is this this guy on. He was here on the show before, Mr. Titus Akala. He has been reporting, I mean, these horrible stories. And sometimes you think that you are watching a horror movie. 5-year-old, 6-year-old babies being raped, some being raped to death. What's going on? Let's start with you, Mr. Gagwa.
Well, I think that you know, it's unfortunate. You know, rape is a very, very serious crime. And the fact that we have not taken it seriously is unfortunate. The fact that we do not have leaders who our children, our girls, and our young boys can feel protected under is unfortunate. I can't explain, or I won't understand why a man aged 45 or 50 years old will want to will see no other a person than a 10-year-old baby to violate. And it's unfortunate. And what's even more pathetic is the fact that we're going to talk about it, and nothing's going to happen because it goes back to the kumbaya, right? Everything has to be handled traditionally and under and within families rather than legally. And so I can't explain as to why these things continue to happen. But what I will say is, I think the fact that nothing is done about it is almost like corruption, right? When people see a loophole in a system, when people feel like they can get away with a crime, or when people feel like they can get away with something when committed, and there's nothing that will be done about it, they'll do it. They'll do it. And I think that's the reason why a lot of these animals continue to take advantage of our children, because those citizens does not have a government who understand their pain, who are willing to protect them, and get this and stop this mess. It's so sad.
I was watching Lena, and there was this story about a 10-year-old girl. She was selling milk candy, went to this guy, and the guy, decided to buy the milk candy. He even paid, this was like this week or last week, pay for the milk candy for everybody around and say, okay, follow me to my house, I will give you the money. 10-year-old girl followed, and this girl was brutally raped. And they said the guy came outside boasting about it. This is beyond sad. And he was arrested and taken to the police station, but nobody took the girl, the baby, that 10-year-old girl, to the hospital. Mr. Doe, is it about culture? Is it about the culture of impunity? Do we even recognize these things as rape? We're talking about 10-year-old rape.
Yes.
Even older women, this culture of rape. Where does it come from? How do we deal with it? How do we stop it?
Well, the thing here is a lack of women leadership. We don't have a woman leadership that would take this issue to the forefront and press on this government.
Mr. Doe, why woman leadership? Why not men?
Women leadership, because the women are being the one are the victims of this crime. The children, the girls, the women, and all that stuff. This is a woman issue that they are the victims. So if you have, where's the woman leadership? Where is Representative Mona Youngblood? She's a representative. Why she's not working, working on the law for that, or pressing the government to do something about that? Where is the gender minister on this? So we need women leadership, whereby they can come together and pressure this government to do something about the rape. The men are taking advantage of the women in Liberia. So if we do not have a woman leadership in place, a strong woman leadership, this will continue. I'm looking forward to Representative Mona Youngblood to do something about it. I'm looking forward to the gender minister to do something about it, and the council of women in churches, women pastors and all of that stuff, to do something about this. If the lack of women leadership is the issue here as well, we don't have a strong women leadership. You look at other countries that have less rape, you have strong women leadership, and I think that's what is hurting our country today.
I strongly disagree. Go ahead, Mr. Finley.
I couldn't disagree.
But Mr. Jai, he said as well, so he can agree with you. He said women as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I was, before coming here, I just went because my princess is graduating from 12th grade. So, I mean, I want to lead on that. I don't even expect, but go ahead, Desmond.
So, as well in that statement, Mr. Dorr saved you the raft I was going to, things I was going to say. Because I'm a father to 3 daughters, right? Next, my oldest will be 17. December, my other will be 17, and I have a 12-year-old daughter. So, women won't be raped if men don't rape them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Women won't be raped if men don't rape them. So there's no way this is a woman issue. This is an issue.
No, when I say a woman issue, women need to take a lead to stop this crime.
No. Women won't be raped if men don't rape them. So I've even heard the excuse where somebody said, "Oh, she was wearing short things."
That's not what I'm saying. You're mischaracterizing what I said. I'm
He's not talking to you, Mr. Dorr. He's not talking to you.
Women supposed to take some sort of leadership to stop this crime, to fight against this crime. That's what I'm saying.
No, if all men take responsibility not to rape a woman, one woman will never be raped.
But what I'm saying, all men will not take the responsibility. So therefore, if the government, forget about it, all men will not, but if the government is not being pressured by women in the country, definitely will not resolve this issue.
Let me tell you.
Thank you, Mr. Dorr. Desmond
has the floor.
Yeah. Back in 2003 in Virginia, and I'm going to keep everybody's name. There's a family, I know, Liberian family. The 21-year-old's cousin went to his cousin's house and had a relation with his cousin, little daughter, I think 10 or 12-year-old girl, right? You know the family did, the grandma, the uncle, all the aunties, you know they did? They didn't report it to the police. They kept it. That kid that did that thing still walking around here. We're on Facebook right now. The point I'm trying to make here is more cultural than it is a government thing. It's a format of Liberia doing everything. We're the most forgiving country. We're the most forgiving people. Let's just forget it. God will take care of this. I leave my own with God. It's the foundation of all our problems. 3 weeks ago, I came on the show. I started coming here, and it's it still remains the same. It hasn't changed. Until we start punishing people for things that they do, and they're held accountable in a way that they can be penalized, that people can see it. Everything that we discuss on this show going forward will continue.
I disagree with you when you say it's cultural. When it's cultural, which means it's acceptable for women to be raped.
No, when I say it's cultural, I'm not talking about acceptable for women to be raped.
But that's what culture means. It's a culture, so okay, let the man rape the women whatsoever. I disagree with you. It's not a cultural issue.
Hold on. Let's go to Mr. Cooney on Mr. Cooney. Talking about culture and the definition Edward gave that's not correct. But talking about this whole thing of rape, it keeps happening, and sometimes even sometimes people are not really outraged. Like for instance, if you were in Monrovia and heard that somebody is gay, people may get up to stone that person. If we hear about rape, I mean, you have two consenting adults doing their thing, and we are so outraged. But you see a woman being violated, and sometimes we are not that outraged about it. Mr. Cooney, what's your take?
That is why leadership is important to play a role here. That you need that outrage from the women leadership.
Okay. So though you made your point, it's Cooney's time.
Yeah, I mean, the issue, as everybody has indicated, is clearly unfortunate. But, the issue of rape, violence against women, those are issues that have been happening in our country for a very, very long time. Maybe we're hearing more about it now because we're in this new age of social media where these things can easily spread like fire. The reasons are multiple. It's not one reason. I mean, you talk about the very nature of the social and economic challenges that people face, even the structure of our society. It was interesting to know that even in our laws, there were at one point, the Liberian Penal Code, they have something they call contributory rape. You know, that the accused will use that as some kind of defense that, you know, the victim contributed to their own rape, either by the way they dress. I'm telling you, Liberian Penal Code, it was, you know, they got contributory rape, either by the way they dress, by the time they go out. So there has been some level of accommodation of this behavior in our country for a very long time. I know that particular law has changed. It was changed where they removed that. You couldn't use that as a defense anymore. But I think we're learning more and more about it because of the times we're in. And like my other brother Desmond said, some of these crimes that take place in our society is this impunity factor. You know, look, most criminals, they think like they are rational. They look at the benefit for committing the crime against the punishment for committing a crime. And most time in our society, the benefit outweigh the punishment. So people elect to commit the act because the benefit that they derive from the commission of the act far exceed whatever punishment. And if you take those people from our society, that's why I think the society matters. You take some of those people from the society, you bring them here in this country. I'm not saying it's a 100% thing, but they will think twice. They will think twice. And let me give you an example of a colleague that I work with. You know, here we work with families and youth. And if you are part of the city youth program, you know, they say they guarantee you certain benefits as a teenager. You go into school, you may have problem with your family, but they say they will rent out an apartment for you. And they say they, you know, just like what a parent would do. But they got their workers going out to make sure you're doing the right thing. And so this guy, he was a worker for this family, this girl, he would go out and he would do exactly the same thing. And you will laugh, he said, "Damn, Mama, can you imagine if we had that kind of program in Liberia? In fact, we the worker, we the one would be pregnanting the girls." You know, but he had to think twice. He's looking at the consequences from his action. So the impunity factor is very, very strong. Then to that, we got to develop the capacities of, like I keep saying here, the capacity of our institutions, the gender ministry, the police department. What kind of services are we providing to families that are going through this trauma? It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing.
Can I just get 30 seconds, please? Because I think Mr. Doe said something that I have to say was completely out of line. You know, the lack of women leadership is no justification for the continuation of rape in Liberia.
That is not you guys are mischaracterizing my. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm not saying this is what you said. I'm not saying this is what you said. What I'm saying is to insinuate that when we don't have strong women leadership, it will continue, is somehow a justification for the continuation of rape. This is not.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No, you guys. Robert, you mischaracterized what I said.
Let me land.
No, I'm saying we need a rape to change that dynamic.
Rape is not the fight of a particular gender. Rape is the fight of all of us. Rape is a fight of men, women, anything. It has nothing to do with women leadership, period. Is racism the fight of Black people alone? I mean, it makes absolutely no sense to even suggest that.
You missing the point. The point here is if rape is a cultural issue. If rape is a cultural issue,
let me land. I think the host will allow you to respond because I think it's just fair. But again, rape is not a gender fight. It is a fight that every decent human being should be part of. So again, I think you probably misspoke. This is not what you meant, but I think you misspoke to have even asserted that the lack of women leadership will continue because of the lack of women leadership. You shouldn't have even said that. This is a fight of all of us. And like my brother Desmond said,
If every one of us, I mean, it's sickening to even look, you're 45 years old. So it's sickening to look at a 10-year-old baby that could be your granddaughter to go and want to violate when you have all these women your age around you. It is sickening. These people have absolutely no place in our society, and all of us, not just women, all of us, men, women, every decent human being, to be on the front line against this.
I'd like to respond to
These
Mr.
folks
Rabbit, please.
to be locked up for the rest of their lives.
Point taken, and I'm with you. Edward,
I'd like to respond to Mr. Rabbit.
1 minute.
Go ahead, Mr. Doe.
Yes. Mr. Rabbit, let me correct you here. If you have a cultural issue, especially in the terms of rape in Liberia, it's a cultural issue here. You know, you need some sort of leadership, especially the victims in a cultural dynamics that is being victimized, needs a leadership to stop that cultural issue, to put an end to that culture. This is what I'm saying. So by you mischaracterizing my words, saying that I'm saying that, you know, it's only a fight for women, not for men. No, that's not what I'm saying. Okay. It's a fight for everybody, but we have a cultural issue, and that cultural issue can only be stopped by those victims in our culture. You know, if women are being raped.
You blame
Let me land.
Yeah, I got the point. We got the point. If a girl is raped, who is the victim there? The girl, the mother, or the father? You are saying if a girl is raped, the mother should take the leadership, not the father. In essence,
no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is that you have women in leadership role. Okay, they should be the one to perpetuate this rape thing and press the government to punish, you know, those perpetrators of the rape act, you know, to enforce the laws of rape. That's what I'm saying. But they should not sit in government in leadership role and do nothing.
Okay.
You see?
Thank you, Mr. Sear.
Right now, you only have two. I think you want to have a woman or a senator in.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we got the point.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to leave it there. We've been here for over 2 hours now. Mr. Gagwa reached out to me. You and myself can have an exclusive. I know a lot of people follow you, and then you can be given that opportunity to speak on a couple of issues that you would like to clear off your chest. That's why we're here for, Rabbi. We are just a medium. Hey, folks in cyberspace, this is Focus on Liberia, and you are watching the top stories in the news being analyzed. Here we have Mr. Edward Doe, Wilman Coney, Robert Gagwa, Esmond Finlay. Gentlemen, we have to close it. We passed 2 hours. That is our max. And so we have to leave it there and let's get your concluding statements. Let's start with you, Mr. Doe. Mr. Dennis, Jai, you don't mind?
Yeah, let me read some comments, and we apologize for our phone lines. We are the last caller, so if you are on the line, we're sorry, we are not taking any more callers. So let me read a few comments here. Let me read your comments. Tavina Cole say, we are one people. Let's talk it family way. Talking about rape now.
Yeah.
Don't let papa, uncle, or your family get in trouble with the police. We beg you. So that's the kind of attitude when those kind of crimes, heinous crime happen, especially in family. I was in a church and my pastor told the people, say, I'm obligated to report. So we are not talking anything family way. That's the kind of attitude we need. Francis K. Weaver said we need to do away with this thing called we will talk it family way when those wicked animals destroy the children's future. Adia almost say rape is a serious crime in Australia. Here, if one is charged with rape, you can never work with children. I agree with you, Robert. Sexual violence prevention is the responsibility of everyone. We are BSA. I agree with you, Robert. Adeha also say, Robert, you have now used the right word, every decent person. Sando Kana say, Edward, the majority in leadership are men. They should start it. Women have been crying for so long. We need to stand up. Everybody in leadership should be gender sensitive, not just women. That's from Telco. Williams King is saying we are on the phone. William, sorry, we have closed the phone line.
Where's Adia Honest Omo comment to that say you are right, Mr. Edward, to where's the women leadership and the gender ministry?
Okay,
I did not say that.
Williams said rape is a man issue, not a woman's issue. The majority of rape victims are women, so why should women be leading the banner? No man should lead. No man should lead. Martin Keys Yanwe say, I think that Mr. Doe is trying to say, since the men are not taking the lead, the women should. Those are our comments. Back to you, Mr. CA, as we conclude this thing.
And Mr. Ja, thank you. Folks in cyberspace, we want to say thank you for always following our broadcast here. We want to encourage you to always like our Facebook page and also subscribe to our YouTube channels so that when we are live, you can get that notification and have the opportunity to be able to watch the show and learn from what our panelists always have to share. Yeah, gentlemen, you know the issues that we cover. I will give each of you maximum of 3 minutes to close. Let's start with you, Mr. Doe. You know, all we will talk about the CPP framework. We'll talk about Charles Sirleaf, money being stolen, $17,000 for each lawmaker. I'm talking about the House of Representative members. We ended to the rape issue, which is depressing. Please close.
Well, I'm going to close with the rape issue because the fact that
2 minutes, please.
All right.
Yes, I'm not even going to use all the 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to close with the rape issue. The fact of the matter is that Mr. Rabbit and some of the panelists, members, have taken my comment into a different context. I did not mean that because women should take the leadership means that men should be out of the leadership. What I meant was there's a cultural issue and women are victims. So therefore, if the women in leadership roles have greater responsibility to take that leadership role, to say, you know what, government, make that impress on the government that the government should enforce the rape laws and have those who are perpetrators of rape, to be jailed or be punished. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that men should not be involved, whatsoever. I have 3 daughters to myself. I don't want for no man to rape my daughters, whatsoever. So the fact of the matter here is that Mr. Rabbit and Mr. Desmond, I think that's his name.
Yeah, Mr.
Philip, okay, took my my comment out of context. I just want to clarify that. We have a cultural issue, and I think it needs more of a women leadership, especially women in leadership role, to take that lead. I'll end right there.
Thank you. Let's come to you, Mr. Robert Gagwa.
Well, I always like to end by saying thank you to my family, you guys, Dennis, for the platform. I think you have one of the most substantive show, and I will urge you to continue down this path. I would like to thank my fellow panelists for being a part of a great dialogue, including Mr. Doe. Mr. Doe is a very, very smart, big brother. And for the most part, I agree with most of what he has said today. And I think rape is a very sensitive topic. And I think we all would agree that it is all of our responsibilities to get this out the way. And, sometimes what we don't want, it's not what happens. I don't have kids, but I have nieces, I have sisters. I don't want no man raping anyone, but just because I don't want it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But when it does happen, God forbid it happens, there should be all of us cry to have the perpetrators held accountable. Now, when it comes to Liberia, I think Liberia continues to be a work in progress. And I'm very, very troubled that as things stand, we do not have an alternative. We do not have an alternative. And I think that the opposition continues to make it easier for the re-election of the current government. It is my hope that they take the criticism, the constructive criticism that folks have expressed when it comes to this framework, and take it back to the drawing board to make the necessary adjustments. And one last thing I would like to say is, look, we are in a democracy. All of us have different opinions about different things. I would like to urge all of us to learn how to respect the opinions of others. And even if we are going to disagree, let's do so respectfully. Let's do so respectfully, because one way or the other, we can all learn from each other. I've learned from a lot from these guys. Desmond is a good friend, a very smart guy. The two hosts and the my fellow panelists, we can all learn from each other. We don't have to resort to insults and things like that to make our point. So thank you again for the opportunity, and I look forward to more. God bless.
Thank you, Robert.
And more will always give you, Robert, because that's what we do here. We educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Mr. Finlay, please, your closing statement, sir.
All right. So first thing I want to, I think we touched it. Everybody touched it. Rape. Everybody know where most people know where everybody stands. It needs a solution about rape. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse with that. I think action is what we need. No more talk on the situation. As far as the CPP framework, right? I think where people are looking, what people don't realize is this document is a pure manifestation of our current, antithesis to what we currently have on the ground. That's what this document is born out of. So the way the system functions now, this document is born out of. The last time we had this show, we talked about strong men versus political parties. This document makes the party stronger as opposed to the individual. So there are things that can be worked out, maybe worked out. Like I said, amendment. These are things they go for. And the reason why laws are written with a little bit of ambiguity is because you leave room for the future. You can't have it so rigid to the point where there's no point to negotiate or have discussion. So I really like this document coming up with the intent. And I see and I know where it's coming from. It's coming from the current situation on ground. So as it relates to when we talk about the budgetary support and the $17,000, I really, there's two folds. Why would the executive keep the people's salary in the first place? Why you hold somebody's salary for XYZ amount of months and then decide to pay it right when you want something done? So that's a point that nobody wants to argue. Again, I go back out. My point I want to end here with is this fact, right? Ibrahim Darius Dillon is a senator in Liberia, has brought the level of, has increased the bar. Because the bar is increased, that's why we have people shaking their heads. The bar has been increased so people will shake their head. And again, Dillon, you need work. You have to do more work for yourself. There are things that you can work on, there are things you can improve on. But the fact that you have risen the bar, I will always respect you for it. Senators now would be in Liberia going forward and think about the actions before they do it. That's thanks to Ibi Darius Dillon. You should write a law for that and say, call it Ibi Darius Dillon law for shining the light. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least is Mr. Wilmer Cooney. Unmute yourself, Mr. Cooney, and your closing statement. If you want to talk about the duplicity, you can go ahead and close with that. That is a very, very important point there. Your turn to close.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to say a big thank to my fellow panelists. I want to make my closing remarks on the CCP document. In my view, I take opposition very seriously because I think the opposition has a role to play in our democracy. They can make our democracy strong, and they can help, they can contribute to make us a better country. Again, I want to express my disappointment that the document that is being put out there today, the document does not reflect any national vision. It further confirms what we've been saying all along, that the only reason why people get in opposition in Liberia from time to time is to just inherit the system, not to change the system. The current system we have, Mr. Sir, is a relic of a colonial artifact that has been bequeathed to us, that has a very highly centralized predatory power system based in Monrovia, and it appears that no political institution wants to challenge that system. What we've seen here is that every political organization wants to inherit that system. We think it's about time that in Liberia, we need to shift the discussion of politics into organizing our people, changing our minds, educating our people on the power and the prospect of decentralization, especially within the context of delegation of public functions and authority as well as devolution of authority that will allow local self-government so that the Liberian people can be part and parcel of the process to do things for themselves. It is really disappointing that all we see in Liberia is just the continuation of the status quo. It's just advocacy for the replacement of one government after the other when the basic structure that continues to provide field leadership to our nation remains in place. It is my hope that as we go forward and as we engage in this political process, other people will find the wisdom in the idea that we cannot sustain that predatory system that we have in Liberia. We need to disperse power, we need to devolve power, we need to delegate power to our people so that our people acting in their own best interest can take decisions that benefit themselves. Monrovia is not Liberia, and it is completely nonsensical for us to continue this notion that Monrovia is Liberia, as evidenced by many of these things that we continue to see from politicians. On the issue of corruption in our country, look, if you cannot, the Liberian people say we know how our Christmas will look based on what is happening on the eve. If our legislature is dominated by the opposition, and up to this point, the opposition cannot show any evidence that they can fight corruption in Liberia, I mean, Liberians are wondering, at what point will you fight corruption? When you get the executive? So these are all fair questions that people are asking. And I don't think they should be dismissed, because many of us, many Liberians, they're not just looking for an arrangement for power sharing. They're looking for a vision, a new vision for Liberia. To borrow the new terminology.
2 minutes, that's a long 2 minutes, yo.
To borrow the terminology of this period, we're talking about, I mean, the guys, they talk about paradigm shift. We're trying to shift the direction of governance in our country. And I think that's where the focus should be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilmer Cooney is also an analyst here at Focus on Liberia. Thank you for that powerful closing statement. Maybe I'll grab Mr. Cooney and we'll do what we'll do tomorrow. Mr. that will do it, folks in cyberspace. That's it. Thank you for watching. Over to Mr. Ja to give us that song. We are all Liberians. We are all one. Mr. Ja.
Don't forget, come tomorrow. We have all things lined up for you. We have the albino community coming on. We'll have our FOL marketplace. We're going to discuss our credit repair. We're also going to have the issue of child trafficking in Liberia. We're going to discuss that at 7. Yes, and also tomorrow too, we're going to have the Deputy Presidential Secretary here, Mr. Smith Tobin. Also at 6 o'clock, we're going to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on Africa. Until then, my name is Dennis Jai, closing on behalf of Focus on Liberia.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home.